Welcome back. You are watching Morning Express on KTN and KTN Home and KTN News. It is time for the Dawn debate. Now, sibling rivalry in the opposition coalition, NASA, is causing a collision of sorts. In Mombasa, the senator and governor cannot see eye to eye despite being NASA gubernatorial candidates. The same can be said about Kakamega, where Governor Wycliffe Oparanya and Senator Boni Khalwale are running for the gubernatorial seat under the same coalition, but on two different parties. The story is repeated in many other places and elective positions. The state of affairs in more ways than one is complicated, and NASA's campaign and the coalition principles continue to play safe or avoid such areas completely. In studio to help us unwrap the sibling rivalry in the opposition is, well, we've got Langata constituency analyst Dunstan Riziki, and we were expecting Musari Siongo, but he will not make it due to circumstances that we cannot control. So welcome. And let's start right there with the sibling rivalry, especially in the NASA camp, which seems to be, of course, one thing that the principals have kept away from for obvious reasons, possibly not wanting to show support for any side or the other. How is that likely to affect their vote hunting mission?
Actually, sibling rivalry is first of all biblical. In the Bible, we have the contest between Abel and Cain, and later on, Cain murdered Abel. So as we are moving into a political contest, one thing we must appreciate that a sibling rivalry at all times brings out the fairest competition. But in a political contest, the winner takes it all, and the winner takes it all in the sense that amongst the candidates, one person will win. That is for a fact. But looking at it at a larger picture, at the presidential level, once the principles in whichever in the NASA coalition avoid going to those areas, then it hampers the vote hunting mission amongst for the presidency at that level. And that's, when you look at it politically, the beneficiary in that context, where we have a sibling rivalry amongst the coalition partners, the other competitor is the beneficiary when the principals avoid such areas. More so in Mombasa and Kakamega, in Kwale, where you have partners within the coalition fighting over each other's over the positions at the material level. When the principals fail to really stamp the authority and really stamp their foot at the constituency level, at the county level, then the winner in that contest is not necessarily, in the presidential contest, is not the NASA coalition, but rather the winner at that level, at the county level, is the Jubilee. In my opinion.
And that is likely to affect how effective, for instance, NASA would be in some of the areas, given that their votes would be divided amongst, within the same party, but amongst some of those who are contesting.
One thing about maybe sibling rivalry, on one hand, it also bolsters the voter turnout amongst within the coalition. But on the other hand, the voter turnout, vis-a-vis whichever divide you look at it, the voter turnout sometimes might also help the candidate in the opposing camp. In this regard, if you look at Mombasa, for example, the particular voting blocks are already caged in a particular camp. If you look at the Kambas in Mombasa, most likely vote for the Wiper candidate. If you look at the Kikuyus in Mombasa, most likely vote for a Jubilee candidate. If you look at the Luos in this regard, and our politics has not yet really evolved so much. We are still voting on tribal inclination. If you look at it in that way, then you will see that if all these factors are put constant, then we might have a tight contest, not necessarily between the NASA candidates, but rather they will give a leeway to the Jubilee candidate because they are already divided in one way. So whosoever shall be able to pull a last-minute surprise in terms of voter mobilization is most likely going to carry the day, because the other parties in the coalition, within the NASA coalition, already have their blocks, and every coalition leader in this regard is trying to mobilize their voting block to vote for their preferred candidate. When each and every political leader within the coalition does that, then the outsider amongst between the NASA and NASA coalition parties will be the beneficiary of the contests, the sibling rivalry within NASA.
Okay.
So when you look at it objectively, and if you look at it in terms of how our politics is maybe evolving and also moving forth, I think we need to have a level of the architects of the NASA coalition really did not come up with good infrastructure, political infrastructure within the coalition itself to be able to zone out maybe regions. You could say probably we'll use the example of Jubilee in the URP and TNA in the Jubilee coalition in the other election. We saw out that part of Rift Valley, the Jubilee coalition zoned it out to URP. Then part of Central, you could not see candidates within Jubilee, within the URP candidates contesting in Central region because of the political zoning. Political zoning is an ingredient actually for building coalitions. So the architects of NASA, in terms of strategy, they lost out in terms of zoning out.
Right.
You could, if they had actually zoned out particular areas. For example, you look at in Bungoma, for example, you see the coalition principal Moses Masika Wetangula is also facing an ODM candidate. I think it is the apex of political adultery to expect a coalition candidate to have another opposition just in the name of you are romancing it in the name of democracy.
Right.
I think it is fair enough to give him, if he's truly a principal in the coalition, then give him some space and give him some kind of decorum and respect as he moves forth and forges.
And this would bring the other question now, whether it is an opening in the democratic space that we have, even within parties, because it also brings in the question of whether, when we had the nominations, of course, they were very shambolic, and there was a lot of discontent within all the parties that tried to do that. But there was the question as to whether they really should even have the nominations, or the party should just decide that this is the person who we would prefer to be our flag bearer for whatever candidature it is.
One thing about building a strong democracy, and Kenya, we are tiptoeing towards that. And if you want to build a strong democracy, then build a strong party democracy. A party democracy in the sense that let elections be held at the party level, let the people decide. That is one aspect of building strong parties. We are not yet at the stage where parties will make the decisions unilaterally. It takes time before we reach at that particular stage. But more importantly, the nomination across the divide faced a lot of difficulties in terms of logistical framework, in terms of other issues that were beyond the parties themselves. But if we are going to have the shambolic kind of nomination, also brought out the independent candidates. And the independent candidates in other areas are also considered sibling rivalry because one party you discover probably most of the independent candidates were also contestants in whichever party or the other. So if we want to move forward as a country, then it is important, first of all, to build strong democracies and also strong parties. These parties should also be built on ideals. And these ideals should be the bedrock of the party. If the party does not ascribe to its own ideals, more so the ideals of democracy, then we are not yet there as a country. But specifically within NASA, NASA faces a strong kind of, the architects of NASA did not foresee, first of all, the aspect of rivalry amongst areas that they consider were strongholds. If, for example, they considered Bungoma as their stronghold, then they could say that within Bungoma County, let us have Ford Kenya, which since the coalition principle comes from Bungoma County, instead of having a gubernatorial candidate within Ford Kenya and another within ODM, or for example in Kwale we have a ODM candidate and have a Wiper candidate. In Mombasa, you see all this actually it eats into their own political capital. So to avoid such kind of scenarios, I think it is important first of all to do zoning and also appreciate that each coalition principle has a stake in the party, in the coalition. Then secondly, on on ODM as a party, I think is the backbone or is the source of the discomfort within NASA. It is a source of discomfort. One, on the basis that you see, they still have the big brother syndrome. They still feel that the NASA actually is an oxymoron, and rather that is NASA's ODM. That's why you'll see them having candidates across the country, yet they will not want a Ford Kenya candidate, for example, or a Wiper candidate to come and contest in Kisumu, for example. So that big brother mentality within NASA, more so within ODM as a party, that's what is actually killing NASA. And when it kills NASA, the beneficiary of such kind of a scenario obviously will be the Jubilee for that matter. And that's why another issue about the sibling rivalry within NASA is that, for example, if Raila wins the election, then we don't have NASA does not have numbers. Then he'll be an impeachable president for that matter. So it takes a lot of political thinking for them to craft a strategy on what really they intend to achieve as a coalition. If they move forth to maybe, for example, win the election without the numbers at the presidential level, without the numbers in parliament, then the House, the National Assembly and the Senate might come out and say, for example, we want to impeach the president, and they'll have the numbers. The other side of the divide will have the numbers and impeach the president. So the contest does not really end at the election level. The contest between who has the numbers in whichever house or who controls majority of the county government supersedes this election. Another issue is that you see even the issue of sibling rivalry also goes to the county assemblies. If, for example, you have Jubilee government or NASA government winning particular county government slots, then you don't have the numbers to move your motions, to move your agenda at the county assembly, at the national level, at the National Assembly or at the Senate. Then it gives a hard time to the president or to the governor in that county to be able to move the agenda at the county level or the National Assembly level. So it is important for NASA to put their house in order, and the other parties also to put their house in order for them to be able to move the agenda and also to move the agenda of the country through the respective houses. All right.
Yeah. Another thing, maybe before we wind up, is just your thoughts on the recent announcement by IEBC. This was yesterday, and it's in regards to the announcement of the presidential numbers as they come in once people have voted. And this is to the effect that they will not be doing periodical announcements like they did before, but just wait for one announcement. Your thoughts on that?
One thing is that the announcement by IEBC, actually, the Maina Kiai and Halifa moved the High Court and on regards to the issues of announcement of results and the declaration of results at the constituency level or the roles of the IEBC chairperson in terms of verifying, tallying, and all that. And the Court of Appeal was very clear on its ruling that the results should be announced at the constituency level, and the returning officers at the constituency level hold the key in terms of the declaration of the results in that level. So if the results are declared at the constituency level, then the role cannot be transferred to the chair or to the commission at that level to do the periodic announcement. But rather, the role of the chair will just be to collect, actually. The tallying and verifying and all that will be done at the constituency level. So it's actually the ruling by the Court of Appeal took the power of announcement of results from the IEBC chair and gave those powers to the returning officer at the constituency level. So the role of the IEBC chair will actually to declare the results. To declare the results once the results have been collected at the constituency level. And once the results have been collected at the constituency level, the chair will just be like a mathematician, a calculator, just calculate the results, put the results in order, then announce the results. Actually, politically, it's not the right thing, but legally it's okay. Legally it's okay in the sense that that's what the people want.
But will it really make a difference, given that the returning officer will be announcing at the constituency level? Then really it's up to the observers, for example, or anybody who, or one of those who are tallying those results, to keep those results and then compare with the final result. The only thing is that now you have different constituencies announcing differently.
The periodic announcement of results or provisional announcement of results actually prepares the moves of the mindset of the voters in terms of the expectations and all that. But rather this time round, there'll be nobody who will be preparing the political, the populace or the voters who will not be what's happening in the other areas. Probably in your area you think so-and-so has won, but the other area is not the same. So the periodical announcement of results actually was politically right in terms of preparation of the minds of the voters, in terms of the outcome, expectations. It really reduces the tension amongst the voters. But the one-off announcement of results, the voters are not yet prepared to the expectations of what is impending. And that, with this high level of tension, and also the election right now is a close call, then you expect a lot of political imbroglios at that level. But hopefully, the people should be able to appreciate that these are the Court of Appeal, the people who move the Court of Appeal. This was one of the issues that the movers, that is Maina Kiai and Halifa, wanted the court to address itself on. That at what level, and what were the roles of the returning officers, and at what level should be announced, and what level should be the result declared. So it is a win-win. It's a win-win for the Kenyans. So I expect probably whatever the commission should do some sort of civic education on the sudden changes, so that people are also prepared in terms of the expectations.
Well, let's hope with 12 days to go, they have time.
Yes.
And talking about time, well, we'll have to wind it right there. Thank you very much, Dunstan Riziki, who's a political analyst, for, giving us insight on sibling rivalry and also on the announcement by the IEBC. That's where we wind up the Dawn Debate this morning. But do stay with us right here on Morning Express. We still have the newsroom coming up right here in just a bit, where we're going to be looking at some of those stories that have made headlines. And of course, one of the ones that we will be focusing on is the presidential debate. And was it really a debate? Well, details will be coming up right here on Morning Express, so do stay with us.